Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage. Welcome to a new series of Crusader Kings 3. If any of you are here looking for a new series of Civilization 6, there will be one coming. I'm just waiting for the next free update, which comes out on the 26th of February, and I'll be making a new series after that. If you're a regular to my channel, you may have seen me do several attempts in the past of a Mercia to Britannia Empire gameplay in Crusader Kings 2. This will be the first time that I've done it in Crusader Kings 3. I did attempt it when this game first came out, but I actually found the start far too difficult, mostly because the Viking nations in the UK start with large numbers of event-spawned troops that seem to persist, and it made it very, very difficult to expand and win any wars, simply because they had massive armies and there was no way the player could even compare to them. All of the other people that you could possibly try and attack, like Wessex and East Anglia, were parts of massive alliance chains, so you couldn't really pick on those, and it was very, very tricky, especially because you do start at war. So what I'm doing for this game, we're playing on normal difficulty without Iron Man. I never use Iron Man when I'm recording videos for YouTube in case something goes wrong and I basically have to reload the save and record the video again. The only thing that I've done here, this is not a custom character, this is the standard leader of Mercia, Petty King Bjornredsen of Mercia. And if you're not familiar with Crusader Kings, what you'll notice is that there are certain things about each leader, each ruler, that always stay the same at the start of the game. So your name, your age, your spouse, your religion, and your culture, but certain other things will change on every new game. So for example, your personality traits will be different and your stats will be different. So I've actually re-rolled a couple of times to get one with relatively decent stats across the board. I've had games where I've had someone who was very heavily intrigue focused, which is not ideal at the start of this particular campaign. I had one that started with a couple of sins, which meant we were getting negative piety, which again, not ideal on this particular campaign, and I'll explain why later. So I've just re-rolled a couple of times to get somebody who got relatively decent stats across the board. So we're going to jump in and we are going to play. So let's have a quick look at those stats here. So we have 11 diplomacy, 14 martial, 10 stewardship, 7 intrigue and 11 learning. We are a tough soldier, which has given us that extra +4 martial and will give us an extra 20% towards our martial lifestyle experience. We're also a forest fighter, which gives our knights an advantage of +5 in the forest and the tiger, which we do not have in the UK, but there are plenty of forests though, so we'll make good use of that. We do have the Wrathful personality trait. We lose 1 diplomacy because of that, but it gives us +3 martial. We also lose an intrigue and gain 20 natural dread. Unfortunately, that natural dread is offset by compassionate, which gives us -15 dread and also 100% additional dread decay. It does offset some of the diplomacy loss. Well, actually, more than offsets the diplomacy loss from Wrathful. Gives us +2 diplomacy, but we do lose more intrigue. And it also gives us more attraction opinion. And it's also a virtue to the Catholics, so we get +10 Catholic opinion and +10 piety per month. We're also temperate, which gives us an extra +2 stewardship, a small health boost, and we have a 10 opinion boost of temperate characters and -10 of gluttonous characters. And again, this is a Catholic virtue, so we gain another 1 piety per month from that. So if we look at our piety here, we're gaining 3.7 a month, which is really, really nice. If we look at our spouse, she is 13, 11, 11, 9, 12. So again, fairly decent across the board. She's a great eminence, so it gives her +8 diplomacy. She's forgiving, she's also deceitful, and she's diligent. These aren't too important to us, but I just thought I would show you anyway. So the first thing that we need to do is choose a lifestyle for our ruler. Now, obviously, we could pick any of these that we want, but we do have a high martial skill, and we already start with 7 perks in martial, and we gain an extra 20% experience in martial. So we'll go for martial. These are the 7 points that we start with here. We've got Bellum Justum, which gives us 50% cost reduction on our CBs. We have Parthian Tactics that gives us a 10 to 30% boost against various different, with various different units like Cavalry, Heavy Cavalry and Skirmisher. We've got Organised March, which gives us 15% movement speed and some additional heavy screen ability. We've got Engineered for Destruction, which gives us +25% naval speed and +40 siege weapon effectiveness. That's going to be very useful for us. Living Off the Land gives us 25% raid speed and an extra 200% supply capacity. Hit and run means that we suffer 25% fewer retreat losses, and we also get some extra damage on our heavy infantry and spearmen and archers. And we've got envelopment, which means our men-at-arms counter efficiency is increased by 25%. The next perk here that we'll be able to take is sappers, which will give us additional siege progress on various unit types, leading into strategist that will basically give us +1 diplomacy, +3 martial, and allow our knights to inflict 25% more fatal casualties, and we'll be able to cross water without penalties, so we won't have to it won't matter if we're doing aquatic landings. So we'll definitely carry on that line. There are 3 focuses we can choose here. We can go for strategy focus, that'll give us +3 martial. We could go for authority focus, that would only give us +1 martial. It would give us 0.03 growth per month, control growth per month, which is really, really nice. But unfortunately, a lot of the purpose of authority focus is in dread gain, and that's not that useful for us because we have that, is it the temperate perk, the one that's basically making us lose dread anyway. So not ideal. And then the chivalry focus if we want the extra prowess and the knight advantage. We're just going to go for strategy focus and straight up get that extra martial skill in there. The next thing that we need to do is get rid of some holdings, because you can see we've got quite a few. We've got 10 holdings. We can only have a maximum of 5. I'm going to keep the 5 in the middle. So Warwick, which is our capital, Northampton, Leicester, Derby and Stafford. Going to give away Chester, Worcester, Hereford, Bedford. It says Bedford, but that's Bedford, and Hertsingstone away. So I'm just going to click on each one. I'm going to grant them to like a random guest in the court. I'm not necessarily going to bother. We don't want to give them to family. We don't want to give them to people who already have titles. So we just basically want to give them to random people. Ideally people who do have the correct religion and culture. If we can as well, it's nice to give them to people who have reasonably high stewardship, simply because people with higher stewardship are more likely to develop the holdings. So let's grant this one. I do want to make sure I've got someone I can keep around as a steward, so I don't want to give them to all of my best people, because then they become independent. So this is the last one that we need to give away. That's my nephew, so let's not give it to you. Yes, fine, you'll do. So now we need to sort out the council. So we have a couple of open spots. Before we deal with the open spots, let's have a quick look at the 2 people that we've got here. So our Chancellor, diplomacy is his highest skill, so he's in the right spot, although there might be a better Chancellor. Our Marshal, his martial skill is 11, that's his highest. Oddly enough, he's a thrifty clerk, which gives him extra stewardship, but he's not a steward. Let's see who we have for the stewardship position then. So our highest ranking steward is a 10, which is not great. Neither of you were 10s or above, were you? No, you were a 9. I could make you the steward. You are arbitrary, that gives you... So you... Yeah... We'd only be 1 stewardship down. I don't have anyone with a higher stewardship than 10. So I could put you in. Who do we have martial skills? So yeah, I've got a marshal that's got 19. So what I'm going to do is for my steward, I'm going to make you my steward. And then my marshal is going to be this guy with the absolutely ridiculous martial skill. And my spy master, I guess it's going to be you, because you are a powerful vassal. Not ideal, but the job is done. Right, let's have a look at our military. We can raise just over 1,100 troops. Let's have a look at our knights. Some of them are pretty terrible. We'll forbid the spy master. I mean, he's pretty low anyway. We'll forbid the steward. We will recruit this guy to court, and we'll force him to be a knight. So we've got our knights here. So we're in 2 wars. We start off in 2 wars in this particular scenario. You can see there's 10,000 event-spawned troops here for the 2 wars that are going on. So the first one is a war where we are an ally for East Anglia. So there's ourselves and Wessex and East Anglia, who's the main war target, against Sudrija up here. And then the other war is for Northumbria against Jorvik, and Jorvik does have an ally up here of Upland, and that's again Mercia, Wessex and Yeah, he's already got control of quite a lot of Northumbria here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my army. And the first war that we're going to try and get out of is the one for East Anglia. And we're going to come over here and try and take Difflin and the Isle of Man. Simply because it's a little bit easier to try and do that. Can I select my army, please? It's a little bit easier to try and do that because it's on a different landmass. And their armies are less likely to march over there and do something nasty. That doesn't mean they won't march over and do something nasty. But we'll hopefully have more of an opportunity to see them coming. Now, it doesn't matter too much if we lose both of these wars because we are not the main war target in either of them. But we would like to try and avoid taking losses here. It's absolutely pointless me trying to engage their armies directly. They simply have too many men. Even if I married my army up with Wessex down here, the chances of us actually having enough people to beat them in a fight is very, very low. So what I'm going to try and do is just run around behind them and win some sieges if possible. Now, as soon as we can afford it, what I want to try and do is get some men-at-arms. And first off, I'm going to get some onagers, which are very basic siege weapons. They're like very small, mobile catapults. And a lot of people who play Crusader Kings don't tend to use them because the way that Crusader Kings works is normally it's all about numbers. The army with the most units in wins. And onagers only give you 10 units per rank in the army, so it's very, very small numbers. However, they allow you to breach the walls in a siege, and they can drastically reduce the siege time. And that's really important if you've got very, very small levies, because when you've only got a small army, you can't afford to split it up. They're too vulnerable. You've got to keep them together as a single stack, which means you can only siege one holding at a time. And if you can only siege one holding at a time, what you want to be able to do is siege that holding faster, because if you can siege it faster, then you can run around and siege more stuff more quickly. So that's what we're going to be aiming to do here. So there's a few battles being lost, and these armies are going around and taking some stuff, but at the same time, we are getting through this siege. Our siege event ticks always take 20 days, because at the moment we have no way of speeding that up, because we don't have any siege weaponry. We're also being raided, which is fantastic. That's what we need in the middle of everything else. But it's fine, we'll leave that as it is. So in less than 2 months, this siege will be over. I'm watching the map very closely, because there are straits that lead across here, and it wouldn't be too difficult for them to just drop an army right on top of me without me spotting it. Spouse's average martial skill led to this windfall, so we're getting 75 prestige, very nice. And we definitely want to keep that piety going up. I'm hoping that we'll get the opportunity soon to get some money from the head of our religious order. Because if we can do that, then we'll be able to start getting some men-at-arms. So there's that siege done. I'm going to then head off into the water. Unfortunately, every time we embark, it costs us a little bit of gold. And I want to go over here and now siege out the Isle of Man. But I am being very, very careful to make sure they don't bring anyone across the strait here. My wife is pregnant. That is absolutely fine. So you can see we've already gone from negative war score on that particular one to positive, although we just lost a stack again. So we're going to move over here and attempt to take this. I'm really going to be keeping my eye on where their troops are. They're all sieging at the moment. Now, I tend to play the game on speed 3. If I'm in a war and there's lots of armies and lots of things moving around, I may slow it down to speed 2, usually just so I can see what's going on. Because you really have to be very precise. You can see how quickly the date progresses down here in the bottom of the screen. You have to be really precise when moving armies sometimes if you want to retreat or avoid getting into a fight. Or if you've got an army that's split and heading in 2 different directions and you're trying to just jump on one half of the army. Slowing the game down is really important to be able to time that just right. If there's not any wars going on and I'm just kind of waiting for stuff to happen, I'll like speed it up to 4 or 5 until something happens. Unless I feel that I've got something interesting to talk about, then I might slow it down again. And I do tend to pause quite a lot when I'm not looking directly at my armies in case somebody comes in and tries to jump on them. Like I'm going to do just now, because I'm interested to see what's going on with Wessex. Wessex are trying to unsiege East Anglia, although there's an army down there sieging stuff back. There is a Northumbrian army up here trying to unsiege something. They don't have much of an army at all right now, unfortunately. Something happened here on our siege of the Isle of Man, because it originally started a maximum of 10 months and it's already dropped down to 5. I didn't see what the event was. Either way, I don't mind. Anything that makes it move a little bit more quickly. Now what I may do after this one is then nip up here and try and grab some of their holdings up to the north. I think we do have to be very careful though. Just making sure I'm unpaused because it didn't look like there was an awful lot going on there, but we're 3 months remaining. How are things going down here? You are unsieging, they're sieging. It's kind of going to be a bit of a stalemate. We've got a new daughter. Now, before I do anything, might be worth having a look to see if Francia has a son they wouldn't mind marrying off. No, they haven't at the moment. Always nice to try and marry your daughters off to powerful kings, because sometimes you can end up with a really, really strong ally. We could also try and get allied with the King of Alba, which could be quite useful. Do you have a son? Yes, you do. He's unmarried. So how about if I offer to arrange marriage to my daughter? If I've actually clicked on the right one, that would have helped. It would be of his dynasty, but that's fine because you won't accept a matrilineal marriage. But that's actually quite good because that will give us an alliance with the Kingdom of Alba, basically, and this might help us in the war. So let's see if he accepts that. He should do because it said it was +7. There we go. Alliance formed. And now I should be able to call him into the war. Oh, I can ask my head of faith for gold. Yes, please. So 100 gold. Yeah, I can't invite him into the war because the war was already started. But that's fine. That extra gold will be really, really useful. What I'm going to do is I will get those men-at-arms. We'll have to try and keep them safe. Right, defeat. So one war has ended. That was the war that we were currently working on. That was unfortunate. We don't actually lose anything in that, though. Simply because we weren't the war leader. We actually gained 97 prestige. Now, what did happen with that? That was this one up here. Or no, is that the East Anglia one? Yes, so East Anglia is now actually part of Sudriar, which is fine, because we can try and take that from them. They've just become a nice, easy war target for us. We'd like Northumbria to sort of stay alive, though. So I'm going to bring my army back across to Cheshire. And as I said, I was going to go into men-at-arms, and we were going to get some onagers. Now, they cost 60 for a stack. That only gives us 10, but even 10 is enough to get going. I think what I might also do as well is get some bowmen, because we do have a bonus to those, and I'm going to raise them as well. Will take them a while to fully reinforce, but let's get them over here with our main army. And then I'm going to go in and try and... I might just go in and try and siege some of Jorvik, actually. And that could be a bit risky. Let's just group all of you guys together. Yeah, I'm going to try and stay with their army if I can. There might end up being a battle here. Looks like there's going to be one. I may not have wanted to jump into that because they suddenly got a lot of extra units from somewhere. Our councillor had his head ripped off. Well, that's not ideal. So that was an unfortunate battle because we lost. But there's no need to worry because, you know, sometimes you do lose. He was a really good marshal as well. This is our guest. You've got 15 marshal. How much would it be to recruit you to court? Only 10 gold. Fine. You are going to be my new marshal. And actually, we'll put you back doing the same job as before, which is trying to get rid of... Oh, no, I hadn't assigned you. I thought I'd assigned you somewhere. We'll get you working on unrest, because there's always some somewhere. Okay, so now I've got to basically let my army recover a little bit. That was unfortunate there. I should have known better than to get involved in a battle that I was very unlikely to win. It will save us a little bit of money on reinforcements, though. I'm going to move back up to Cheshire, and then I'll jump in and try and grab Lancaster. And this will probably end up being another war lost, and that'll be unfortunate for... yeah, so that war's ended. So again, you know, we got some prestige, and then most of Northumbria has now been... gobbled up into Jorvik. So we've now got 2 Viking neighbours, and that's going to be a little bit a little bit problematic, but not completely problematic. So we'll disband our armies, we'll allow them to recover, we'll gain some money back, we'll build up those men-at-arms. So our two most likely targets are Sudria and Jorvik. Now, because these are a different religion, we will automatically have CBs against them for a religious war. So we can go ahead and look at that if we click on one of these holdings, click on Liege, and if we declare a war, you can see we've got holy wars for various counties. Holy wars cost us prestige, and this is why it's really, really bad if you start with a load of sins and you're not gaining prestige, or even worse, you're losing prestige, because then you don't have the easy ability to do these holy wars, and you have to rely on not prestige, sorry, piety. If you don't have piety, you won't be able to do these holy wars, and then you have to rely on prestige and fabricating CBs. Fabricating CBs is a complete pain. It takes a long time, it costs money, and then you have to use prestige. So having the piety is quite useful. This guy has an absolutely colossal massive army right now. Again, these event spawned troops are still there. Let's hope they go away, because we can't do anything about that right now. So at the beginning of this video I did mention that that's how it used to be when the game first came out. I have actually played this campaign once since. I started a couple of weeks ago, just because I wanted to experiment and see what changes had been made, see if it was any easier and see what it was like. And I think I actually won both of these wars, or at least won one of them. Obviously my leader was a little bit different because it was a different stats roll. I had someone who was actually very high on stewardship. And not particularly good on martial. So that extra stewardship allowed me to essentially get more men-at-arms very early on. But I did exactly the same tactic. I jumped over here and grabbed, well, I just grabbed the Isle of Man, to be honest, and then started to move up here. But I think I won both wars. I'm a little bit surprised that they're getting to keep those event-spawn troops. I think that that is wrong, and that should not happen. There's definitely something about that that is weird. But he is definitely a target, so is Jorvik. Wessex is going to be difficult. There's another war won. Yeah, so we need we'll need Alba's help for sure in some of these battles to come. But in the meantime, we're just going to concentrate on building up the armies. We might also want to build up some of these holdings as well, just so we get a little bit more from them. So what are we being told here? Powerful vassals want council positions. We can fabricate claims. We probably should. How much does the leader of Wessex like us? Not too bad, actually. It's actually our brother-in-law. We can unlock a new perk for Marshal, which we will. So we might want to keep him happy. We could make some claims on Wessex. What I did in my last game is I didn't even take anything from Wessex. I just managed to grab enough of everywhere else to vassalize them. So that may be what I end up doing. So we're going to go in and get sappers. So that will increase our speed at sieges. If we'd have already had that during those wars, that would have actually been very, very useful. That's the Battle of Lancaster, which we've already had. So there we are. Not the best start that I could have had, but decent enough all the same. We haven't really lost any land. We have built our armies up a little bit. It is a little bit unfortunate that these lands changed hands, and they're all now Viking owned. That might make things a little bit difficult with those event spawn troops. So as you can see, we can declare 2 wars against Jorvik and Subdriar, or however it's pronounced. I have no idea. These guys. So, yes, we will... Oh, there's Cheshire getting martial guidance. Lovely. So, I'm going to end the video here. I think this is a good place to end. When we come back next time, we'll see if we can maneuver ourselves in a position to start a war. Thanks a lot for watching. I really do hope you're going to enjoy this series of CK3. If you have enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I will see you on the next video, and until then, goodbye for now.